Munnar, beautiful, an oasis of serenity and tranquility, a splendid tourist destination in the heart of God's own country. At 6,000 feet, this was the summer resort of the British in colonial days, a great expanse of tea plantations, green valleys and mountains, respite from the heat of the plains. Tea, tea everywhere, and not a drop to drink. Well, almost not a drop. Alex, looking forward to this trip, had told me, "I want to take you to Matupeti Lake." My parents often took me there when I was a boy. We're up in the Kottayam Hills. When I'm up here and I see the scenery here, it's very much like Scotland or something like that. It's very, very, very beautiful. Trinkets, clothing and chocolate were the main shopping temptations. Then into the hills. Here is found exotic wildlife, monkeys, wild boar, deer, elephant, and the occasional tiger. The most we managed to spot was an elephant, though I have a feeling it was not wild. The tea pickers, their baskets like big apron pockets, move through the tessellated bushes, hand-picking the tips that make the best tea. The gaps between the bushes, making the scenery look like a green patchwork quilt thrown on a bed of hills. We visited Alex's childhood home.
This is the house I stayed 50 years ago for more than 1 year. I studied in 2nd grade in this city called Munnar. My father was the assistant education officer in the office that is seen next to this house.
Well, this is Alex's younger brother's house that we've been staying in. Alex, Nanny, myself. It was wonderful. Very quiet last night. No, we're not particularly anywhere near any big road, just a little track. So we all had a good night's sleep and ready to go see the backwaters of Kerala today in a boat. Well, before the backwater experience, I got a tour of the plantation where Alex spent his childhood. I have to say, it was amazing, especially in the diversity of plants found here. It's a rubber plantation, and first stop was to see the production of latex, the raw ingredient of rubber. This process is called tapping, when a channel is cut halfway around the tree, about 3 feet from the ground, using a special tapping implement, and a small spout is placed at the bottom to direct the latex into a half coconut shell.
Yeah, so this is the latex dilute sulfuric acid,
and then put it and becomes a rubber cake.
Yeah.
Soft rubber cake, and then it is pressed through this.
The solidified rubber is then compressed in a ribbed cylinder to produce a rubber sheet that is then smoked to make it impervious to water and pliable. The process still continues today.
High quality rubber, ready for the Ferrari.
Peppers were plentiful. The peppercorns are dried and ground and then sprinkled in the omelette. Next I saw a cocoa plant used to make chocolate. We tried it.
You make chocolate with this.
Chocolate, this is for chocolate. So this is the actual cocoa, and Alex is gonna bravely eat some of this.
Yeah,
And
very sweet.
Coconuts all over the place. And then another exotic fruit.
so this is the nutmeg. This is the fruit. Inside is the nut on which we get the nutmeg.
The red membrane covering the nutmeg is mace, another spice used by the British and Indians, but also highly valued as a medicine that is a stimulant and also aids digestion, reduces gas, and increases circulation.
This is the piece that surrounds the nutmeg, and you can actually eat it. And if you eat it, therapeutic, no problem.
I remember my mother grating nutmeg on egg custard when I was a boy.
This stream here is where Alex G learned to swim when he was a little boy. But one must understand, in those days there was more water in the stream. There was less of Alex too.
We also saw pineapples, coffee, plantain, and vanilla. Final stop was a visit to Alex's ancestral home, next to where we were staying. This is where he lived as a boy. It's still a great example of an Indian home, with cool storage cellar, intricate ceramic tiles on the roof, and the bedroom where Alex used to sleep. We then headed toward the backwaters. I must admit, I was excited. Kerala is on the tropical Malabar coast of southwestern India and is one of the most popular tourist destinations in the country. Actually named as one of the 10 paradises of the world by the National Geographic Traveller. Alex's brother Tampi came with us, and he arranged the boat. Indeed, I expected a small launch, but was pleasantly surprised when we boarded the Dolphin, a 50-foot tourist cruiser, which we had all to ourselves for a few hours for 900 rupees. That's less than $20. We were soon cruising down the river, and the first thing I noticed was that the water was not blue, but greeny brown. When in Laguna in the Philippines, I noticed the lakes there were a similar color. I've no idea why. Maybe green algae. The backwaters are a chain of brackish rivers, canals and lakes. There are 5 large lakes fed by 38 rivers and covering almost half the length of Kerala state. We had boarded at Nedumudi ferry pier and headed due north. We soon reached Vembanadu Lake, the largest in Kerala, the longest in India. They have an ecosystem found in many places, that is, fresh water from the rivers meets the seawater from the Arabian Sea. Recently, seawater octopuses have been observed. I guess the water is not as sweet as it used to be. The whole feel of the place is unique. I love rivers and lakes, but here it's certainly different. The houseboats in the backwaters are called ketuvalams and are prominent on the lakes. Apparently there are more than 2,000 of them. They were originally used to transport the rice harvested in the paddies alongside the backwaters, and later to transport maharajas. About 100 feet in length, with thatched roofs and wooden hulls, the driver sitting at the front. They're now floating cottages, replete with air conditioning, kitchen, bedrooms and lounge. And food is cooked on board by the crew. Kerala cuisine. The thing about these boats that surprised me the most was the cost. They were certainly not cheap. In my travels in India, I've seldom graced the South. There's nothing wrong with the South, quite the contrary. It's a fascinating spread of states that contribute so much to the quilt we call India. Dr. Alex often threatened that he would whisk me off to his homeland, magical Kerala, deep south, God's own country. But when that phrase is spoken in the north, some wag will invariably complement it, if that's the right word, with the addendum, and the devil's own people. A thought that no doubt puts fear into the devil himself. It was therefore with a certain intrepidity that I finally took the plunge, fearing I should pay dearly for what Dr. Alex gave me freely. Fears, I might add, which quickly faded as I got my first glimpses of the beauty of Kerala and the warmth and friendliness of the people, not least toward the British. Not me personally, mind you, but to the erstwhile Raj of yesteryear, died 1947, but sorely missed by some. It was a great trip, and I got to see many interesting and unusual sights. Life on the river in passing would be a good title for this part. Next day, back to Delhi. but one less stop, Indian treat. A great trip. Many thanks to Alex and Annie. That was a great experience.